Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for joining us now for the last match ahead of us to open up day number 1 of the Asian qualifiers, the road to the WEC for IESF. Again, I am Naisu, joined here with Mirko, and we have seen 2 matches so far today to kick off MLBB Women's, and we are going to round it out with, once again, a matchup between the MLBB Women's, and that is going to be against the team of Brunei versus Indonesia, a team that, Mirko, you probably know pretty well and a lot of information about. So how are we feeling about this matchup? What do you think? No bias. Okay. All right. Yeah.
What I'm expecting now is for Brunei, actually. But okay, back to my point. I'm very, very sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Indonesia,
now we hear
they are the favorites. Nice to heard me. That's all that matters. Yeah. Indonesia have been the favorites in women's MLBB for the longest time. Back when they were Bigatron era, now they're Vitality, and now they're actually, going to be representing Indonesia again for IESF 2024. And I'm really excited for them. I think what to expect from Indonesia is they're definitely going to be the favorites. A lot of teams will be looking to them as the best team in the women's scene, and same goes for Brunei. So Brunei got a very, very tough matchup up against them. But again, Brunei will be able to take this to learn from them and to come out on top maybe in the next time. Maybe.
Okay. I got plenty of that, so hopefully the viewers did as well, of course. But, you have high hopes for this Indonesian team from the MLBB Women's. And, of course, let's take a look at the lineup here for Brunei. We're going to start it off with Shah. And, I'm just going to say this is CT. And then we have Bella, we have Naz, Superstar, and then we have Cha. So, this is a lineup, once again, like I'm saying, when a lot of people that are not so familiar with certain teams, you're kind of just wondering exactly what their play style is up, how will they play, especially against a team like Mirko mentioned, a team with a lot of experience and probably is one of the teams of tournament favorites to win it all, possibly, or to of course, to qualify for WEC, and then who knows what's going to happen out there. But this is a tough team to go up against. And Mirko, I'm going to let you do the honors. Go ahead and take us through the roster from Indonesia.
All right, here it is. It's Cindy Siswanto. We got Vivian Indrawati, Michelle Chel Siswanto, Benny Fumieko Lim, and Viorel Vival Chen. This is the lineup that we've been talking about, man. They're on a 30-something win streak. I lost count.
What?
Yeah, they've won. They haven't lost a single tournament since what, 2021.
Jeez, I'm just wondering. I see the trend for all their names and IGNs, but then we just have Vinny Fumieko. Like, that doesn't sound like first name. So she's like the odd one out there of the names, of course. But yeah, I think that's insane. And we're jumping right into the draft here for game number 1. But wow, a 30 win streak. Is that just like internationally? Is that like?
Internationally plus domestically.
Locally?
It's all the tournaments that they've participated in. So yeah, they haven't lost a single tournament since 2021, I believe. I think it might be even like before 2021. I think 2020 maybe, in the middle of 2020 when they actually reformed their roster. But hey, I like that you caught that, right? Because Fumieko, technically, she is the odd one out in this roster because she wasn't a part of this roster up until like I think a year and a half ago. So she's still technically a new member compared to the other 4. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. With a win streak like that, I don't think there's, much else you can say. But this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I can personally think of a team that would be good competition for them, which is also in the same group, which is obviously the Philippines, right? Who is also a very well-known team, Omega Empress, and we'll see how they all compete against each other. Again, if you guys have been watching also the previous 2 matches, they were best of 5s because they were the only 2 teams in their kind of like region battling out for their part of Asia. This is a best of 3, right? Because we have multiple teams that are in this, part of the Southeast Asia group that'll be facing off. So this is the first of that, which is going to be, of course, Brunei versus Indonesia. And we're getting to the bans, of course, already. First phase nearly done. Matilda Roger taken out, and then you have the Harith and the Chip. So I'm wondering what, because of Indonesia and their power level here, if you will, them being a pretty strong team, I'm wondering what their answer is going to be based off that first pick blue side, because of the fact that there's just, this is the time where really when you're, I would say even when we opened the matches today, it was already a good glimpse. Like there's already a different kind of step or flavor going from Africa to, Asia, the flavor of play that I'm talking about, and like the meta. That's interesting. Hayabusa is going to be ran out here, but I'm wondering exactly what the play style is going to be from Brunei. Because Indonesia, I can already make a guess, So let's see how they want to start this off with their first pick. The Angela was the last ban for the first phase. I like that the Hayabusa was banned because this is mostly what I've seen is so much Hayabusa and actually Ling popping up and utilizing the SPA that we talked about earlier, that Sky Piercer. And this time around, since that Hayabusa is taken out, I'm wondering if we will see from Indonesia an assassin jungler pop up. And that's why, they could play around the fact that a lot is open on the table. I'm wondering if this is Luo Yi priority still, even for Brunei. I'm just wondering if we're shifting gears in terms of the priority for Luo Yi, because even the last series, man, we saw Minotaur like first picked up a couple times and then building the lineup through that. So Fredrin, it's been a minute, since we've seen the Fredrin first pick on the blue side.
Yeah, but it hasn't been a minute since we've seen a Terizla first pick. And I was about to say, right as you were mentioning the Ling, in Indonesia, especially in the ranked games, Ling has been first pick prior, like even without the Angela. Usually you would go for the Ling if you have an Angela, right? Especially on the red side, Ling Angela, Angeling. We all know how good that combination is, but Vival, I think this has got to be why they went for the ban onto Hayabusa, right? Vival is a really good assassin player. She's really good on the utility too, but her main was the assassins before, the whole utility meta came in. So the fact that the Ling is up for grabs, yeah, they'll for sure go for it first pick. And there you go. Now with the Ling, now they have to play for Brunei at least. They have to play in, I think, front to back kind of manner with the Fredrin they've already gone for, right? I think it'll be kind of tough if they actually go for more dive. So that's what they have. They have two very good peel/cover heroes that they have up against the Ling. But again, this Ling, first item Sky Piercer could be an option to go for. And I don't know about the Chang'e picks. They want to utilize this as flex pick? We've seen it go in the gold lane. We've talked about the marksman possibility of using the Chang'e, but I am not sure. Maybe Chang'e has really risen up because of the items too, huh? Wishing Lancer? No, they're just gonna hover over and pick up the Luo Yi. So even for Indonesia, the Luo Yi is still prio despite the nerfs.
Okay. I think we still see that eventually, maybe, because that's, again, we only get a glimpse of how it would work currently in the match that it was our first match of the day, right? Where we missed the Chang'e, and unfortunately we'll see if Kazakhstan Uzbekistan. So this time around though, like I would not, like, before the patch, the Fredrin versus Ling matchup, I would automatically be like, all right, if the Ling wants to be successful here, you have to be able to secure the buffs, number one, like especially the purple buff, which is normal for assassins, and then like the rotations have to be on point and dealing with the Fredrin, because Fredrin was so, I mean, the guy was like on a 99% contention rate, for the longest time. Like, he was first pick for the longest time. I'm talking about like a year plus almost. And this time around, I'm not so sure about the Fredrin because of some of the changes that have gone here. Where I'm saying, like, the matchup between the Fredrin and the Ling, I think the Ling here, especially in the hands of Indonesia, will actually be able to perform pretty well. I think, too, having a Luo Yi helps with that problem, like being able to set things up, being able to help reset, if you will, or even kind of use the diversion. Now, we've talked about this extensively just today, the diversion being a little bit longer on the cooldown makes it a little bit more crucial on how you want to approach some of the fights or utilize that ultimate. But with this, it's already very impactful having a Ling being able to move around the map just alone, and then you have a diversion possibility there too, and a Terizla who has been just a monster so far since we opened up today. And we'll see exactly what the XP lane option for Brunei is going to be, because we saw so much Yuzhong going against the Terizla, and there's still a couple of options too open, which is the Xborg. I'm not sure if they want to play the Xborg into the XP lane. Brunei, again, there's still a lot here left to kind of question and kind of formulate on how they want to play this, but I will say that their first 3 picks are pretty solid. They have good, solid, kind of rounded first phase draft already, and gold lane I think is going to be where a lot of this focus is. I think too, if they somehow can get, let's say they get the Brody, because there's already a lot of gold laners banned out. You know, I'm wondering if they want to lock it in, because this is now the Claude right away locked in for Indonesia.
All right, so already a different, completely different prio level that we're seeing from Indonesia compared to the other teams, right? We were talking about how earlier, at least, we were talking about the Clint, we saw the Harith a couple times, but we've never seen a Claude, at least not today, not yet. So this is the first time that we're actually seeing a Claude and a Ling. We got the hover over the Ling, but now the Ling and the Claude makes an appearance, and now I guess this should be the real gauge as to like what the meta is going to be, right? Because Indonesia, they're definitely the favorites here, and Brunei, they're definitely also a team that understands the meta. So I want to see what they go for now, and like how they react to these picks coming in from Indonesia with the Ling, with the Loyi, and the Claude. What's their option? What's their choice to go for here? Are they going to go for the Brody or the carry? All right, so seems like they're going to lock in the carry. It's also a very, very good pick up against a Ling. You have a lot of mobility, that instant sidestep with your second skill, and the Yuzhong. So still, the matchup up against the Terizla, it does seem like for the most part, people enjoy the Yuzhong versus Terizla matchup. But this is another hero that we're not used to seeing, not today at least. That's the Grok for Vivian in Rome.
Okay. And I feel like this is very like their identity for a lot of the picks that Indonesia probably rolls with. Like this is very probably what helped them get to that 30-win streak, you know, I mean, in terms of how they execute this. So I think a big part of this, again, is really just kind of dissecting what Brunei has and how they're able to utilize their picks against this lineup, specifically even controlling the Ling. And based off those picks that they have, I think they have the tools, Mirko. Like, I think the big part for Brunei is, like, they have the tools to be able to pull it off. It's just really, I need to see how their rotation is in comparison to a team like Indonesia. And I think that's what a lot of people want to look out for and see how it rolls. Oh, interesting, too. That's Carry with the War Cry emblem. And also with Ling. Ling has a War Cry for Indonesia.
Interesting. So yeah. They want to go for long team fights? Is that what it is? With the War Cry?
I guess so, you know, because this is, at least for us here at IESF, this is going to be the first, like, I think it is the first time that we see War Cry. We saw Temporal Rain pop up a couple times. So, you know, we were wondering how good would War Cry be, because we know that, like, it works off basic attacks, right? So all the damage dealt, it's basically increased by a certain percentage. If I remember, it's like 6 to 8%. I think it's 8% for 6 seconds. So this is interesting because this, I feel like that paired up with, let's say, for the Ling, for Vivio, like if she gets the Sky Piercer, like that already helps you in this. So, hey, we'll find out and see exactly how it ends up working out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 1 here. Again, the last match of the day for the MLBB Women's. It is the IESF Road to the WEC. As again, these are all these women, all these men that will be playing throughout the next few days are fighting for the slots to WEC in Riyadh. They're going directly there. And this is the match of Brunei versus Indonesia. And now we'll take a look here at things falling into place. Of course, like I said, I'm going to be very interested to see how the War Cry emblems work. Now that this is the first time we're seeing them in IESF anyway, I'm sure you guys have probably seen them in your own games or, you know, online in different tournaments. But the fact that this is going to be on a carry and a Ling, and what kind of impact that'll have throughout the game, is what we want to pay attention to specifically too. And for Brunei, like I said, their lineup is quite solid. They have a lot of good front to back positioning they can use. And look at that. I mean, even the poke potential is already pretty good. So this is a big thing for Indonesia kind of to deal with. And it looks like at the same time, it depends on Vivian's rotations on this Grok. This is a typical hero we see lined up in the roam. And some of the best roamers out there will play this Grok to a T and make huge plays just with the wild charge alone, whether or not you have a flicker. So same thing can be said for the Minotaur. Oh, Bella actually takes a lot of damage just from Sydney, the mid lane all by herself. So so far, nothing, no one going down just yet. Everybody getting those level 4s online. I think this is where we see if Brunei can go toe-to-toe with the first objective take eventually once it does spawn up.
Gold buff, though. It does seem like it's going to be contested there. I don't know who actually takes it, but yeah, so far so good for both of these teams, right? They're just playing around these skirmishes, but whoa, that's a lot of turret shielding taken away already in the mid lane. I think it was all Cine? Was it really all Cine that took all that, you know, all that gold from the turret? That's actually quite a crazy amount for, you know, the first 2 minutes of the game, and it's an instant rotation to the bottom lane as they now start the turtle. It's actually Vival, who is the assassin, on the turtle first. Very uncharacteristic, you know, on assassin, but it's going to be the diversion as well. Into the back, bringing Fumieko over penalty zone, going to be able to lock the Fredrin down with a Vivian as well. All the damage coming down with the dispersion to claim first blood for Indonesia as Vival claims that turtle. A good wild charge to knock him up straight into the Finch Poise, and now with one more Defiant Blade, has the Tempest of Blades as well, and Bella will be forced to flicker out. Now Cha looking for a trade, going on to Vivian right now, but it's going to be a flicker out still. The passive taking down to take Vivian out, and it will just be a trade. 2 for 1, make it 3 with a turtle.
Okay, Brunei able to get at least 1 kill in the whole exchange. I'm glad at least they were able to make that play from Cha. So, you know, keeping it from being a total disaster now early on, because the reason why I'm saying that is early on before that fight even happened, like Miracle mentioned with the gold and everything else, the farming, Indonesia found themselves nearly 1,000 ahead just from macro decisions. So with that team fight as well, they get that little bit further, and you're going to see this is where that compounding effect from teams with this kind of experience really builds up. Sometimes alone, they don't even have to fight. Even with a lineup like this, you think Ling is going to be there, you know, Vival's going to want to fight, but looks as, oh, Cha could get focused down here once again.
Just with the dispersion and the rotation, good setup on that penalty zone, and they're on the board once again. 1 more kill up top. There's a bit of a skirmish, but a battle mirror image will get Chell out, denying a trade from Brunei, but they are still staying up top. 3 members. And a bit late, what happened to Bella? Gets taken down by the assassin. Now Chell going to be targeted, taunted up, and knocked up as well. Has a battle mirror image, but will be locked down as a Purify, and also a Mutan's Fury with the Appraiser's Wrath. But Chell's able to escape, and in the mid lane, it does seem like it's going to be a mid lane tier 1 taken down instantly by Indonesia as they look to collapse now onto the Fredrin, who's going to be very, very low. Vivo with 1 more dash and the barrier gets him down with the Finch Poise now into the back line. Has the Tempest of Blades, but will use it in the end. 1 more Defiant Blade to get it, and picks up all the blades and gets out with the Finch Poise, while Cine picks up the last bit of basic attack to take her down and goes with the diversion back towards her own jungle. Chell given all the space to go and munch on this turret shield.
Oh my goodness. What an exchange. And just for Indonesia not to really give anything up in that entire interaction, basically. It looks like Fumi should be able to get the kill, as she does. So again, we've seen this. We've seen this Terizla just time and time again tonight alone, really dominating. But you know, you can really see here, Mirko, and I'm sure you're seeing it in the team fights too, the power of the Warcry emblem. I mean, especially for Vival early on, it's really easy to get those 3. What is it? I think it's 3 attacks to trigger it off. And bottom lane.
Wild charge right into the dispersion. Eternal Guard does catch Vivian, but she's able to flicker out of the Cursed Blast. And again, it's Cine and Chell who are munching on that turret shield as the purple will be stolen away. Fredrin not given the space now. Onto the back, that's a Petrify used up, but it's not going to be able to really lock anyone down. Vival picks up a killing spree in the 5th minute of the game, and that's another turret taken by Indonesia.
Oh, as I was saying, Vival just picks up the Berserker's Fury. So, this is what I was saying, man. Like, the damage from a Warcry is very apparent. 8% is quite massive, especially this early on. They might still just force Brunei out of this turtle. There's really nothing they can do here, of course. Wild charge, not gonna be, there it is.
Yeah, with the penalty zone as well, that's a good terrify, but there's no connection on that Minion's Fury as that's the dispersion almost catching them. Eternal Guard to cover again. Bottom lane as a blazing duet shell looking for a soul kill. Oh my god, Dexter with the last few hits to take shot down in the bottom lane. Now Vival again with the Tempest of Blaze, able to use it. Now goes for the Defiant Blades, but will not go all the way, will not commit under that turret.
Oh. I just, at this point, when you're looking at this, I'm really just trying to think of what can Brunei do here with this kind of snowball in effect. If there's any team that we talked about, like, throughout the just IESF in general, look at the bottom. Hold on. I think they're going to force it.
Two-man penalty zone right as Vivian waits for the wild charge and now connects it onto 2 as well. Right into the hammer, swinging down from Fumi Echo as the Black Dragon will be forced to run all the way. Flicker City goes into the bush, takes him down with the dispersion. 3 for 0 again.
Cindy knew, you know, she wanted to make the athletic play. She made it. But this is what I was saying, you know, if you're Brunei or any team that's going to go against a team like Indonesia, and you're in this position, it can get demoralizing. I mean, we're talking about 10,000 gold difference at 7 minutes, Mirko. Like, this is the biggest so far lead that we've seen, and it might look like Brunei wants to fight.
Can't even use the Minus Fury in time. The Eternal Guard doesn't connect onto anyone, and Indonesia now continue Defiant Blades. Again, that's going to be Bella taken down without a problem. We'll charge onto the Fredrin, as that's going to be the tank. Soaking in a lot of the damage. Tempest of Blades once again assassinating the Fredrin inside of the base turret right as they juggle the turret aggro. Naisu, absolute dominance.
Dominance. And it looks like, once again, Indonesia, even 7.5 minutes into the game, they still got a third turtle to get. And they'll go ahead and take that, and they'll start it up. But once again, you can see this. And it made me question, like, Fredrin being picked up against a Ling. This is not typical back before, right? Back before in the current meta, or the old meta, I should say. It would be a different ball game. But again, this could also just be between the two teams. We'll have to see more Fredrin in the future. But right now, it's Indonesia just not letting up at all as they further gold lead. They get the shields down even before they have this Lord. So that means that that first Lord that eventually they secure. Hold on, Seal.
To zone them away, man, and now it's gonna be Chell right now. Oh, the damage coming in, penalty zone flicker from Fumi Echo as the Tempest of Blades gets used up again onto the back. Vival trying to go for the blades, but gets cancelled out and finally gets shut down. But take a look at the base. 2 base turrets already taken down as a Black Dragon only used up, but she will be gunned down from the skies. Chell and Cine takes her out of the skies, and now the base is wide open. The Fredrin wants to go for the cancel right now as they go all the way to the back. Chell with the blazing duet wipes them out completely. Everyone falling. Only Bella, who's respawned, gets the Eternal Guard, knocks Fumi Echo up, who's still able to sustain back up onto the minion waves, and Chell again goes back towards this base. They want to end the game before minute number 10, and it seems like they will be able to do so even before the 9th minute.
My goodness. Before the 9th minute, no Lord needed for Team Indonesia.
What?
And a great showing for the first time that we get to see the Warcry emblem as well locked in for this Ling. And it just, you could see it, right? Vival, the way she played around this and easily bursted just multiple members down. I mean, there was no opportunity for us to see Shah utilize the Warcry emblem, unfortunately, because the gold gap, I mean, even mid-game was just too much to handle here. You can see it across the board, everything just coming together for Indonesia. And, you know, like I said, this is a draft that you kind of expect, aside from maybe the Ling. The Ling was probably the biggest surprise for me, just to pop out, not in the sense that first game is brought out right away, but also into a Fredrin first pick. Like, that was the thing, and you could just see the confidence. But, you know, Mirko, I'm sure you're not as surprised, but for Brunei, I mean, they knew obviously what was ahead of them and what they kind of had to deal with it with Indonesia. And, you know, shortly when they get prepped and ready for game 2, I feel like Brunei has to do, I don't know, a lot of adjustments maybe, like when you think about it, because really part of that was just, remember when I mentioned before the first turtle even broke out, the lead was about 1,000 gold for Indonesia, just based off the macro stuff, like the macro plays, the macro decisions. They weren't even forcing fights. They were actually just taking as much gold as possible. Sometimes that was even just in the jungle and stealing camps or stealing crabs or whatever it was, whatever it happened to be. You know, and that played a part, giving them that bit of an advantage when by the time they reached the turtle, that they, you know, collapsed down, and then it started from there, you know? So for Brunei, when I'm thinking about the answers of what they can do for game 2, I feel like a big part of it is, if not the Fredrin, and you just think, okay, it's probably, let's just say Indonesia picks up an assassin again, then maybe just try to do it. Assassin versus assassin, you know? But we're going to take a look at the highlights here for game 1, and this is going to be a very dominant highlight reel for Indonesia, because Brunei was not able to really kind of keep up with the pace that was set here from them. So let's see. Again, it started here early on. You can see even with the gold difference, like it quickly goes to nearly 2,000 gold just after this exchange, because they had 1,000 gold ahead already. And at 2.5 minutes in, when you have this kind of collapse down and that kind of lead, it really gets tough to deal with. And I talked about this in the draft too, the way that Cine would utilize this Luo Yi pick, diversions. It was, and we said we have to be a little more calculated on using this Luo Yi diversion. And Cine did it really well. A lot of the times it was really just good placement to sometimes rotate around the map to get out. You see this again, Fumi Echo just holding down on the Trizla and really just allowing the lineup to shine for Indonesia, because just, I think across the roles, there was, honestly, from Brunei, I feel like the times that they were trying to set up fights and rely on Naz Superstar, like, she couldn't really get the Minoan Fury setups, like, I don't even know, I wouldn't even call it correctly. It's just she never really got the chance to set them up, and even if she did, they didn't have the firepower to deal with the snowball. Like, this is 6.5 minutes in, we're talking about a 7,000 gold lead here. So even if you get a great setup, there's not much that you can do in that exchange. And this is a lineup from Indonesia that if you try to defend in your base, you'll get pushed in anyway, because that's what Lings do. And not only that, but a Grok. Like, if you have any Grok on any lineup that knows how to utilize that hero, they'll force you to fight. They'll throw a Guardian's Barrier behind you and flicker in and wild charge, and you'll fight. Look, just like this unfolded. It was a forced fight. Vivival goes down, but still, it looks like, they just wanted to end the game, so they're taking some of this risk, forcing it basically into the base of, Brunei, and then you don't have any choice. And this was still good. Like, this was a good attempt to defend, and clearly they had some damage there, but by that point, again, you're talking about 13,000 gold difference. You just don't have the itemization to deal with this juggle around. And you see it, like, even with Chell. Chell was just fine. She's farming up, she's doing her thing, this Claude is untouchable nearly, and I think that's why a lot of teams still like the Claude pick in the gold lane, because of the fact that you can actually just leave a Claude alone in the gold lane, and even if you send 3 members up to a Claude, they rely on BMI. Like, BMI is good enough to keep them safe enough in comparison to some of the other gold lane options. So this is a really good executed lineup that just ends up making them work out well.
Probably the best weak side gold laner of all time, right? The Claude has always been a reliable pick in the gold lane. If you need someone to play solo, to just play, if you want to focus more on that trio mid, on the XP side of things, on the turtle neutral objectives, and yeah, the Claude. We haven't really seen the Claude at all. I think we haven't in the African qualifiers. I don't remember seeing the Claude, right? So
I don't think so, man. Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen the Claude in the IESF qualifiers, at least, and it's still very, very impressive. And yeah, I really like the Claude. I think it's because, for the Claude especially, it takes a certain level of mechanical level, right, to pull off the Claude. Because even though, yeah, you're the best weak side, but you need to understand how to utilize this Claude. If you don't, it's going to be really tough. You can actually end up, inting some of the times. It's a very difficult hero, a very high skill floor, I would say, and also very high skill ceiling. And that's what we got to see. The calculations on the dive as well, right, Naisu? Use it nice and Blazing Duet, and then running out with a battle mirror image, but having Dexter there to deal the last few hits necessary. It was just crisp clean from Indonesia. And maybe in game number 2, we'll see them do the same thing again, just on different picks, because I don't think that the link will be left open after that. I don't think they'll let that go. But even if they do, technically I understand. They have to ban the Hayabusa as well. They have to ban the heroes that they did ban in game number 1 already. Mathilda was banned out as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I understand. I understand some of these bans that just need to be taken out. Mathilda, Roger as well. Roger, super snowball. Imagine Indonesia were able to snowball on the Claude, on the Link. These 2 picks that kind of need, a little bit of that mid game, a little bit of that, at least one item to get going. Imagine Roger on their hands, maybe even in the jungle, to snowball even harder with a Windtalker, War Axe, and a Sky Piercer. That seems like a disgusting build to have early on the Roger.
I'm almost wondering if, like, this is just a thing where we see Warcry more for, like, the assassin junglers. Like, I'm not sure how many of them it would work well with, but just out of the case, like, even Roger, like, I could see the Roger jungle actually, utilizing it really well. Because think about it. I mean, I was actually just thinking about this too. Like, what if you had the Warkai emblem on an assassin jungler, and then you have a focusing mark with your marksman? Let's say it's an Angela, and then that's 8 plus 6% extra damage, because the Warcry gives you 8 and focusing mark gives you 6. So like there's some devastating combinations that can actually happen eventually when we get more experimentation with a Warcry emblem. But that's the thing. I almost wanted that game to get a little bit longer too, just so we could see it finally in a gold laner's hands, with the carry. But unfortunately, that Indonesia just didn't give Brunei a chance to get to that point. So that's what I'm thinking. And I don't even know if you would want to actually like ban out too many assassin jungles. You possibly could. Like I said, we saw the Hayabusa. Maybe this is the thing too. Like, yeah, I think maybe Hayabusa, Ling. What else would you ban out? You know what I mean? Like at this point, it's the assassin. There's so many assassins that now I feel like could be a threat once again in the jungle. And whether that's Ling, Hayabusa, Hanzo, we have Karina, we have even the Harley jungle, dude. Like with the Sky Piercer, Harley jungle could actually work. So I don't know. I'm actually liking the way that we're going with the current meta. I know there's still plenty of time for them to shift things, but this is exciting because of, and I'm not going to say this because, I think Fredrins, Barretts, Marches, they all have a place. They still have a place, even with some of the changes that are happening, even with this Warcry emblem thing, Sky Piercer thing. I think utility junglers are not gone. I know some people have been debating online, like, is this the end of tanks or tanky utility junglers? And I think that's still up for debate. I don't think it is the end, though. I don't know. What do you think, Mira? Do you think this is the end of tanky junglers?
I don't think it's the end, but it is the beginning of the end, right? I mean, if they continue to update the game in this fashion, if they continue to add these busted items for damage, I think it is the beginning of the end. Maybe we'll see marksmen come back in the jungle. Maybe we'll see assassins just dominate again, just like we did in M3, right? That would be pretty cool as well, to get a glimpse or to get back at that meta would be pretty cool. Just a bit of a throwback. But I think where we are at right now is already pretty healthy. There's a good mix of like assassins. You can still make the assassins work, but you can still make the utility jungle work. You can still make the tank jungle work. You can even make the fighter jungle work, right? So it's a very, very healthy meta, I would say. Maybe healthy isn't the right way to put it if we're talking about the Sky Piercer, but everything else in terms of like the different picks you can go for,
it's refreshing.
The Sky Piercer is definitely not healthy. It's a disease right now, and
it's a little toxic.
Hopefully it does get changed in the future, or just very, very soon. I hope
don't get rid of it, but just like change
exactly
it,
change it in a way, make it more expensive, make it maybe do less damage. The unique passive is already a good selling point, you know what I mean? Like the adaptive attack is just the cherry on top that makes it super, super crazy. You either nerf the passive or you nerf at least the adaptive attack, maybe even give it a little bit of inflation, just make it a little bit more expensive. That will work too.
Inflate the price.
There's a few things that you could do with Sky Piercer, but I think right now, in terms of like meta, in terms of picks, we're at a point where it's pretty healthy. Every pick could technically still be viable, except maybe pure tanks. Like the Akai, it might already fall off completely in the jungle, but I can still see certain situations that you can make it work,
I think the way that I would look at it, especially right now, is it's a refreshing change of pace, and it leaves a lot of room for creativity and surprises and stuff like this once again, where I think even the best teams in the world are going to be pushing the limit of this new patch. I think some people don't realize like how much this can actually change for the esport as a whole, right? Because obviously people in like their regular ranked games, they're going to do whatever they want. They're try things out the way they want. But I think on a competitive level, this is a really refreshing thing, especially if it does change the course of those longer, lore dances and stuff like that. Like I also enjoy those, but I think it's a nice change of pace to have an option of a lineup that isn't that and can be competitive, because we were in a place for a while, Mirko, that if you weren't set up to go toe-to-toe in these lore dances, you had a lesser chance of winning, I feel like. You almost had to have like in a series, you almost had to have one of those lined up, and that was usually the Fredrin that was picked 90% of the time, or the Barretts, or Martiz, or whoever, Akai was the go-to. So now that you have this opportunity where you can pick up some of these picks like the Assassins and bring them to the jungle, and still play around with the fact that you have flexibility when it comes to like roles and lanes, this is interesting, because I feel like even as we go through the Asian qualifiers here for WEC, things will obviously change by the time we get to the WEC, and I think they'll take a lot of what's happening in other tournaments, global tournaments going on for MLBB, and by the time we get to the WEC, the stuff we're seeing here will highly change. It'll definitely change for us. So and whether that's like, to be fair, I will say this is probably one of the first times that I've seen the Indonesian women's team play. Now, I've seen glimpses of them, but like this is the first like full game that I've really watched, and just watching them, like the way that they move, the way that they even pick the lineup, dude, they like these women mean business, man, and I can see exactly why they're on a win streak. And it's just again, as a whole, MLBB women's is a growing thing across the world. I know Philippines, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and everything else has had these leagues for a while and whatnot, but I like that the competition is rising, and through the interviews that we've had so far through ISF, we know that there's a lot of inspired women out there to compete and play MLBB, so that's awesome, and we do jump into the game number 2 draft here. Indonesia is going to be on the blue side, so I want to see what they take first pick, and this is Brunei's opportunity, to go ahead and take something here to hopefully give them the upper hand in this next game.
It's a very interesting start to the banning phase, right? It's an Arlet and an Xborg. We didn't get to see the Arlet or the Xborg banned down in the previous game, actually, not at all. But it was a different side completely. It was blue side, right? It was blue side for Team Brunei. So last game, they actually banned out the Chip, the Harith, and the Angela. And I think this is technically what you have to do on the blue side, right? Usually, even in MPLPH in your region, it's probably the same, right? The blue side is used to dictate the matchup. So you kind of want to ban as many respect heroes as you can on the blue side so that you can force out a lot of the prio picks, like the Chip, the Harith, the Angela, the Roger. So many different picks, and they decided to go for the Ling. And we didn't anticipate this. We were talking about how the Ling should be banned down after game number 1, but then it leaves a lot of other heroes open. That's another respect ban going through from Indonesia towards Brunei, and that means there are 3 prio picks that are up for grabs. Again, Arlet, Xborg, and Vixana, they're prio, but they're not prio. They're not first phase ban prio. And now they leave all the heroes that we've been seeing in the bans open. Now it puts Brunei in a very tough spot. Do they want to ban the Chip but let go of the Angela? Do they want to ban the Angela but let go of the Harith and the Chip? There's so many different picks to go for here for Indonesia. And my biggest concern now is Brunei going to be comfortable on these picks? Because technically, they could decide to not ban any of those picks that I said earlier and maybe trade 1 prio hero for 2. But they have to be comfortable on it, right? It doesn't matter if it's prio. If they can't really utilize it completely, then it's still going to be very, very tough, and they decide to go for the Hayabusa. So, leaving the Chip, Harith, Angela, and the Roger, and technically the Mathilda open. A lot of big picks here, Naisu.
A ton. And I was wondering if they would do this. So okay, Indonesia grabs the Angela. That's a smart, safe option, I would say. But I was wondering if Brunei would do that, and they do exactly that. They take out the Ling and the Hayabusa, but this also still leaves open quite a bit of options, obviously, in the jungle. But at this point, you just kind of have to take what you get and, get what you take, basically, from both of these lineups here. So with the Angela being across from Brunei, I'm wondering what they're thinking. Like, how do they want to deal with this, with the fact that we could possibly see the combination I was talking about? I'm not sure if we will, but the focusing mark with the Warcry would be very interesting combination of emblems to see utilized in a lineup. And for Brunei, it's like, how do we deal with some of the shields, some of the sustainability, and that healing coming through? Wondering if, okay, wow, this is not what I was thinking. I was like, one of the last heroes in my mind was a Joy. I know it's been a minute and a half since we've seen a Joy pop up, but the Lilia's obviously going to be locked in, secured here. And on the flip side, this is what I was wondering if they would park in the jungle, was the Roger. So what if, this is that Warcry Roger I was trying to theorize in my head. So this is locked in. And then the CC, obviously still a solid XP lane. It's funny how little we saw CC pop up in our, so far in our journey throughout IESF and the different regions even. It's really just been Tarizla and Yuzhong, which are still open, by the way.
Both are still up for grabs, technically, but on the Joy, do you really... Technically, yeah, you know what? I could see the Tarizla, but even then, the Tarizla definitely does struggle a bit against the CC in lane, especially in all-ins, right? That's what we kind of saw as well. Even in the previous match, the CC almost took the Tarizla down until she got penalty zone inside of the turret.
In the turret.
It's going to be the Claude, it seems. That is going to be picked up, and technically for the Roger and the CC, what's great about these two picks is that it's flex. For the CC, even though we don't really see it a lot in the gold, it can still be used in gold, especially if you have a marksman in the jungle. And again, for the Roger, same thing here. You can actually flex it into the jungle, you can flex it into the gold lane. Both of them work, and especially against the Claude, it works even better. Now they have so many more flex picks to utilize. But oh my god, no. The Angela is also flex. They have 3 picks in the first phase that they can flex. Meanwhile, on the other side, for Brunei, they got 3 picks that can only go to one lane, right? One role. We know that Lilia is going to go to mid, we know that the Joy is going to go to the jungle, and we know that the Claude is going to go to the gold lane. So this will definitely confuse them in the draft, and you can already see it. They're taking their time with their bans. They don't know what to get rid of, right? If they ban the Faramis, then maybe the Angela gets used as mid, and then they could go for Grok or even Edith later on, and there's going to be a chip ban there from Indonesia. Very interesting. We didn't get to see the chip at all. It's completely ignored. It's been completely ignored the entire day.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it has been ignored, and I'm surprised. It still is banned, of course, but I feel like since the patch, I don't know if teams are just struggling to play around the chip, or if it's just one of those heroes that it's very niche still. I do feel like that probably fits that category. Like, chip is still niche. You gotta have the right composition, you gotta have the right execution for it, and so instead they just go ahead and ban it out. The Lui, the chip is those that I think about. Funny that Indonesia actually bans out the Grok here too. They don't want the possibility of dealing with that Grok and the Claude combination that they used in the previous game. So this time around, that's taken out. They also just don't want to get basically as much as the CC that you get from Grok, for example, or the Vexana. That's why that was also banned out, because there's the knock-up that comes from the Eternal Guard and everything. As much as possible, you want to allow the Roger to just be able to move in and out the best way possible through the jungle, not get knocked up or CC'd or dealt with any of that. This is crazy. Is this actually going to be locked in? I was not... Like, there's so many picks here so far that I wasn't thinking about, okay, it's the Tarizla. They're just kind of teasing us for a little bit. But Tarizla's going to be locked in. You were mentioning, too, I agree with you. The Tarizla versus the CC matchup is a little bit hard to pull off. But there is always room for outplay and, of course, utilizing the penalty zone regardless of where you stand in the 1v1, right? So this time, man, I'm wondering, too, where the heck is Paquito, like, lately? Like, I as a fan of Paquito, and just the XP lane in general, he hasn't popped up like at all. But wow, Lunox locked in here. Is this going to be a Ruby? Lunox, another hero, by the way, that I think would work out really well with the whole Sky Piercer thing. Just the way that she bursts down so hard. But then you have Ruby now locked in. This lineup is great from Indonesia, obviously. You can see a lot of plus sides here, but Brunei, I really want to focus on them and how they can possibly get to a Game 3 against this lineup from Indonesia, especially with what happened in Game 1. To round this up, they need a solid... What do they need? They need a roam here, a good, solid roam choice. Tankiness would be great. Not sure if they want to battle sustainability with sustainability. Raphael is still open. They actually took out the Faramis. I feel like it's, if they had that available, they could have locked that in. But what are we thinking here for this last pick for Brunei?
It has to be, I don't know, for Rome. I think Minotaur would be a safe option, right? Something that just gets some CC down. But the Mathilda, it has been, I think for the entire day, that's been the most prio hero. That's been always in the banning phase. So the fact that it was left open in the banning phase, I completely forgot about it. Yeah, it's up for grabs. You can get a lot of disengage on it, and technically it does fit into this criteria. They need a little bit of utility to play with. They already have an initiator on the Tarizla. But my question now is, okay, Angela's gonna go to Rome, so it's Roger jungle, and it's Lunox gold lane.
Interesting.
It's easy going to the XP, and it's Ruby mid for Cine.
This is, well, I would say this is refreshing. This is a refreshing meta, Mirko. And it is the war cry, by the way. Oh, it is the combination that I was talking about. Oh, Fury crafting confirmed. War cry, focusing mark. That's 8 plus 6%. That's a 14% increase.
That's a lot of increase, bro. Especially now. Well, I mean, for the Angela, especially, you're gonna be on the Roger.
Yeah, you are. That's what I'm saying. That's the perfect one to pair it up with. So let's see, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what happens in this next game. It's a best of 3 between Indonesia and Brunei. This MLBB women's matchup. Again, all leading to the WEC 2024 in Riyadh later this year. That's where these teams will be headed. And again, a very strong showing game number 1 from Indonesia. And now we have game number 2. We're going to find out exactly how those emblems. Wow, they're feeling pretty confident here, Mirko. Cine, especially on this mid Ruby, by the way.
Yeah, and it's up against Lilia. It's up against what Eternal believes to be the best mid laner to control the mid lane, and Bella is getting out-traded by a Ruby and the Angela. And it's a Mathilda Lilia. You get a lot of sustain, you get a lot of base damage early on, and in the gold lane even. Chell's actually winning out that gold lane up against the Claude, right? So far, they've actually kind of drafted for 3 winning lanes?
Yeah, it's a good test, too, for Brunei to be able to play into this, I would suppose, but... You know, for this, I don't think, like, with Cine just charging up here, just really trying to cut the XP off, too. Child's actually going to go ahead and rotate up. Interesting rotations here from Brunei. Vivial?
Yeah, she's walking up now. Donor and Wolf King going to be used up. Cine able to flicker out. Electrifying Beast dealing a lot of damage, but now it's going to be Vivian is getting caught very, very low. It's a pullback, and it should be first blood over to Brunei very early on, as that's the Angela punished in the mid lane.
I don't know. Was that a little overconfidence? I mean, to be there, and then Cha comes up, and he gets that revenge. I think it was a revenge strike that got the kill. Oh, Chell.
Oh, might see another. Chell very, very overextended. Should be taken down as well. 2 early kills to Brunei in game number 2. But a turtle spawns in the bottom lane, and it seems for Indonesia, the rest of the team are ready. Roger, Vival, straight onto the turtle she goes, and it should be a free one. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, Cha doing a lot of damage, has the penalty zone, doesn't decide to go for it just yet as Cine picks up level 4. And it seems like it's going to be a trade for the purple buff here, as Vival should be able to finish this off without the retribution, and the purple buff will be stolen away by the Joy.
Okay, they steal it, but do they want to fight this?
Curtain call over to Bella, now with the I'm offended. No, doesn't even use the I'm offended, just goes for the donor on Wolf King, and Vivian picks up the kill. That's Indonesia on the board in the 2nd minute of the game, and somehow they're actually still ahead in gold.
Yeah, which is crazy because Brunei was doing a good job, especially finding their own picks around the map and working with that. So, interestingly, again, this is showing how the Indonesians really find gold around the map, even if it's not in terms of these kills. And now this is, again, a lot of extra gold going in their pockets they'll be able to work on here. And now Superstar doesn't have the level 4 just yet, waiting for that to come online. And even, look at this Sky Piercer rush from Vivil. First item.
Yeah, that's the SPA, man. She's a Sky Piercer abuser here, and I think it's confirmed there as she picks it up as first item. But the Joy is very, very good so far. She's actually 1 level ahead of Roger, of Vival, and she's doing a very good job at pathing and invading as much as she can. Umi Echo clearing out in the bottom lane, and Cha will be able to clear this wave together. Curtain Call gets placed down there, but the Joy is able to use the rhythm to escape, and that's actually going to be still the XP wave proxy. Meanwhile, up top, Cha gets a whole lot of damage and is forced to use the flicker even. Wishing Lantern for the Lunox. All right, that's the technology.
That's the tech tree that they're going for. So very interesting lineups here, but we also know that Lantern, it's quite deadly. Hold on, Chell. Okay, they're going to back off. But that's the thing. The Lantern, some of these newer items that we have to take a look at, and you can see the damage, actually from the damage department here, where things are kind of falling in place here. I think that is a good point, though, for Brunei. You have this Joy. She's doing a pretty good job at keeping farmed up. She actually has that, very minor lead that she had earlier and might be getting away from her. But at this point, you know, you want to be able to fight or at least get these kills. If you're going to trade the objectives here, like they're going to give up this turtle, then you want to get this kill, and that looks like they want to do that for Chell. But it's so hard. This is such a hard target to go for.
And it seems up top, there's still going to be some backup from Cine. Vival straight into the enemy jungle, straight into the enemy purple buff. Will be able to take this away even without the help of any of her teammates. And it seems for the Joy as well, she just did the same thing over to Indonesia's purple buff. And both of them are just spreading across the map up top. Circling Eagle gonna be used up, but look at the chaos damage from Chell. Flicker as well, right into the Brilliance. That's a Ruby Didi combo. City goes over to Donor Wolf King, able to stop a little bit of that damage from coming through from Chell. And now she has no mana. She's forced back. But what a combo from Indonesia.
Yeah, great combination. Utilizing, you know, everything that they could do, even under the turret, is just showing quite a bit of confidence once again from this lineup from Indonesia and working around it. So now, you know, Brunei is going to find themselves that they have to be kind of decisive, because if they continue to let Indonesia just make plays around the map, then they're going to find themselves in a similar situation where it just kind of snowballs out of control. So at this point, we got to have Brunei making the plays, and that's got to be up to maybe Cha even, in a sense, to kind of rotate here. And it looks like putting pressure on Fumi Echo. They might make this is... Oh, they're going.
A three-man gang, and she pops into Vengeance now with the Rhythm placed down as well. Fumi Echo still able to escape, as that's... The Rhythm's not ready for an electrifying Beats move, and Fumi Echo have just outplayed a 1v3 in the bottom lane just with the Vengeance. Unable to get the kill, meanwhile up top, look at the tick damage! Going, just barely taking him down. Able to use the regen and the Guiding Wind to escape from that lethal ignition. But take a look at Vival, was rotated up top as well. Battle Mirror Image already going to be used up as Vival goes in for the invade first, and will just use this position to zone Sha away from that lane. Getting Chell a free turret up top, and that's a tier 1 now. Straight after the Sky Piercer, Vival has decided to go for the Windtalker, and now it should be a free invade for Indonesia. That's a Retribution, and Vival collects it, but look at the timer. Turtle spawning up in 3 seconds.
Oh, this is crazy. So at this point, like I said, you know, they're going to continue to snowball, scale up really well, and this is... Look at the setup here. Are they gonna force a fight?
Damage with the curtain call, but it's just the curtain call and a few of those yo-yo strings bouncing back and forth for damage. Not enough to take anyone down. I think they just really wanted to bait out some of the resources. But even then, Brunei, they decide not to go for this turtle. It's going to be free for Vival despite her not having the Retribution. What happened up top? Superstar, Superstar just got taken out 1v1 by the CC. And now Cha's getting kited as well, losing half of her HP. And that's going to be Chell who rotates down below. Now a Guiding Wind taken by Bella, as that's... The Joy running away like a bounce under the back. Bella gonna be very, very low. Slain under the turret, and that's gonna be the tier 2. A full dive under the tier 2 with the tier 1 still up, still intact. They dive and they don't care. They get a tier 1 down below as well. Full control for Indonesia.
Oh man, we didn't get to see it, but I think that was the Sky Piercer making it to work with that double kill in the mid lane. And, you know, it continues on here. That's going to be another kill as Cha falls right under the turret. And it looks like Indonesia has decided to go ahead and flip the switch and keep the gas going now as they continue on. They're still going to get this tier 2 turret down. They're still a minute away from this next objective, the Lord coming up. But you can see Brunei really struggling to be able to fight and withstand some of this. City, confident the entire game, will sit in the base, it looks like. And are they going to fight it out?
Yeah, Sean just disappeared. Now it's a tick and the flicker forward with the chaos. The last bit of damage to take her down. A double kill picked up for Chell. And in the bottom lane, Cha still dealing some damage there, trying to defend. Cine goes in for the Donor Wolf King onto the Joy. And it's going to be Fumi Echo with the curtain call, locking them down with the yo-yos as well. Slowly but surely depleting them of their HP bar. But Indonesia stays disciplined, stays now composed, goes into the mid lane to pick up the tier 2. 8 minutes in, no Lord, but they got the tier 2. Mid and bot.
Okay, they get that. Now we're 15 seconds away from the Lord spawning up. Indonesia, they've done this before. They get themselves a nice big lead, 10,000 ahead. They can work around this too. You can already see things kind of falling into place once again in the item department, and look at the gap between this, of course, especially jungle-wise. Again, there's a couple items, Starlium Scythe there and the concentrated energy, but it's really not enough to fight some of these team fights. And it looks like Brunei is just going to have to give this one up and get ready for the defense. And the problem with that is there's a Ruby across from you. You don't have the flicker just yet on Cine, but that's a forced fight, especially with a Heart Guard, and then you have you know, a lot of tools to actually just force a fight into the base, regardless of if they try to, you know, turtle up around these turrets and everything else. So for Indonesia, they just have to wait a little bit longer for that Lord to make its way up and spawn in. And with the lead that they have for themselves, again, this is a very difficult defense to pull off for Brunei. We'll see if they can hold it together at 10 minutes into the game. Even with that, though, they're not really, like, even Shaw's not where she needs to be in terms of the damage department on those items for this Claude. And Bella really can only just do so much to clear these waves out. But here comes the Lord. Indonesia gonna march it in.
And it's only just the first Lord, but they've dealt already with a turret splash damage. And now it's going to be a free turret in mid lane. Nothing traded back just yet. Cine losing a lot of HP. That's going to be the I'm offended into the flicker combo. Right into Fumi Echo does some damage now, as that's going to be the electrifying beats as well. But look at the Lycan Pounds from Vival. And that's the Sky Piercing doing work into the back. A double kill. A full dive now into the fountain. Another Sky Piercer, maybe proc. But no, he's unable to find the final proc. But they will be able to find the game in 10 minutes and 31 seconds. Indonesia with a clean sweep against Brunei.
Oh, man. From game 1 to game 2, very decisive games, of course, from Indonesia. But I think a lot of people, again, as a tournament favorite, they expected this very strong showing from Indonesia in this lineup here. And again, it was a very tough task ahead of you know, just for Brunei to deal with. And we could see that time and time again. You can see, really, Shaw was not in capacity to farm up at all for her. I mean, even in game 1, she kind of struggled here. But this is just what happens, especially when, you know, teams like Indonesia, they get this kind of chokehold on some of these teams. And it sometimes, like I said, it doesn't even happen in terms of kills. Like, it happens on a macro style, and you know, regions that really have mastered the macro to these games. Sometimes it's not even about the kills, and if they can start the kills, they start it a little bit later or towards that first turtle, or, you know, sometimes they're just farming. But the timings and everything else are really on point from teams like this, from Indonesia. And interesting too, because I don't think we got the closest look to it because we missed a couple of those, but the interaction once again between the Warcry and the Focusing Mark, I think, was very apparent for some of those kills. And now I know, you know, it's a little bit hard to guess as much because once things snowball, you know, it gets kind of out of hand. But I think too, like, if you run that combination, the snowball gets even more dangerous because of the fact of, like, I mean, think about it, like an extra 14% damage on maybe one of the hits, you know, as we take a look at the highlights here. And not only that, but you pointed it out earlier too, you know, the lantern that was picked up early on for Chell. Like, I think that's a 10%. If I remember right, that's once you do like a certain amount of damage, like 800 damage, which is easy to do with a Lunox, especially with the Chaos Bolts. It does like 10% of the current HP. Like, there's so many percentages now that come into play, especially with some of these emblems, and I think they're quite devastating, especially in certain games like this. So for Indonesia, they really kind of scaled up. You know, they made a couple little overzealous mistakes in the beginning, little confident mistakes, but look at this. Like, you're seeing the burst damage come through here, especially with having the Angela first pick. This is that double kill. Boom. Right? Here's the next one. Boom. Yeah. There's the Star Piercer, right? The Star Piercer. The Sky Piercer comes out. And this is the thing, man. So I think there's obviously at some point going to be some changes here, of course, for the SBA people out there. But this is, again, just a very strong showing from Indonesia. And again, a tournament favorite. So we'll see exactly where they kind of end up throughout this whole series on their journey to the WEC.
I don't know, man. Look at this. Looking at this final skirmish, they just played it so well. I can't believe Cine survived that, right? Because she went in. She was supposed to be the sacrificial lamb, the main initiator. Went in for the I'm offended flicker. Gets caught in the penalty zone. Gets caught in the blazing duet. Gets caught in every single bit of damage that Brunei have to offer, and she still survives. They wiped them out almost, right? There was one member left standing in the base. And they don't lose a single member. Not even the one who initiated so far out. The one who soaked in all the damage. And they made a Ruby mid work, bro. It's a Ruby mid with an Angela roam. Remember, it's not a Ruby roam and an Angela mid. And it was a Lunox gold.
It was a Lunox gold. So it's like, I'm not gonna say gone are the days of only gold Harif, but like, you know, Lunox gold was a thing back in the day, you know, like back in the day, like, you know, patches ago or whatever. But now, like, this is actually pretty devastating. And I feel like this is once again what I was saying, where, you know, you have a lot of room once again for some experimentation. And by experimentation, like, this is it, like changing some of these heroes that are known for going in certain lanes and then flexing them into others. I don't know how many teams would pull that off, you know, the Ruby in the mid lane, but that's mostly also because you have an Angela locked in there. And you can actually swap those around too. Angela could be roamer mid. Ruby could now be roamer mid. You know, that could work. And the Lunox ends up going in the gold lane. And it was not a good time to deal with, because once I think the first item was the Wishing Lantern, wasn't it? It was locked in like right away. So, and like I said, with Lunox, it's easy to trigger that 10% damage with the current health, the way that passive works. So again, congratulations to Team Indonesia here. Very decisive win so far against Brunei, and that's game one was under 10 minutes, and the second one was about 10-ish minutes. So wondering exactly what team is going to be able to step up against Indonesia, because with this is a very it's a very big statement, I feel like, from Indonesia, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see exactly what happens here, you know, moving on, and some of the other teams, if they can be competitive with them.
We'll see, man. I think based on, you know, it was the last SEA Games, I believe, the grand finals were Indonesia and the Philippines. So maybe the Philippines might be able to, you know, go up against Indonesia, but we'll see later on if that continues to be the case, right? Because this is, I think, the first time ever that we are having an MLBB women's division for IESF. So it's already very interesting to see all these new teams come in, all these new nations, and I really hope that somewhere out there, right, outside of Indonesia, outside of the Philippines, outside of Southeast Asia, hopefully there's going to be a team out there who can actually suddenly rise to the top and at least give them a run for their money, if not win it all anyways, right? It'll be really cool. It's such a cool story to have, and it also will bring a lot of attention, a lot of new eyes to that new region, and it'll just show that development of MLBB is all around the world, right? It's not just in Southeast Asia, not just in Asia, but even in the West. Maybe we might see the North American women's women's team later on. Very, very excited.
Hey, you know what I'm excited about is the fact that even throughout here for ISF, like, we have new teams, new people competing as well. I think I'm not sure exactly. I think maybe this is tomorrow when we get to the men's or the mixed. I think there's even like Oceania now, and this is going back to the new league that was basically open, which was, I believe it's the OCC Australia League or something like that, if I recall correctly, which, you know, there's new leagues and new countries joining in on a lot of these tournaments and joining in. And I think that's the thing, is like, obviously you're going to have these regions like Indonesia, for example, here for the women's, that is very dominant, just based out of the amount of experience that they've had, you know, as number one, the amount of time that they've had into the esport and practice, and the amount of support that they have. And, you know, if you are in certain parts of the world, then I feel like you get to completely focus on MLBB. It's a luxury that some of the other people, like we heard, you know, through the interviews, that they don't exactly get to dedicate, you know, 4 to 6 to 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours a day that some of these players do to MLBB. But, you know, it nonetheless, the progress is there from the other regions, and that's like what we've seen so far, like throughout IESF. And actually, I think even if you go back to your time I think the first time you were casting IESF was 2022. Like, I'm sure the same thing. Like, you got to see a lot of first time competitors, or even regions that maybe you didn't even know had an MLBB scene in it. And you're like, whoa, what's going on here, you know? And then you actually see that they actually surprise you in some aspect or another. I mean, I feel like you and I shared that sentiment just watching this year's African Online qualifiers, like the way that some of those players and teams played, and then hearing exactly how they prepare for that. So, you know, overall, just very great to kind of see here. And now that we've opened up the Asian Online segment of ISF, it's great to see. But I think we are ready for an interview. And it looks like we're going to be interviewing Vivel here. So how do you say her? Virel. Virel. Let's see. Hello, Virel. Can you hear us? Wait,
Hello?
I gotta unmute. I always forget to do this, man.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. All good.
Awesome. Congratulations, first off. Very strong game 1 and game 2. I think under 10 minutes and then a 10 minute and a half game for game 2. I have to ask, I'm going to ask this first question here right off the bat. Interesting composition for game 2. Great to see this kind of mix-up where we have Lunox in the gold lane and now we have Ruby paired up with Angela in the mid lane. Is this just something new that you guys are trying out, or is it something that you guys have practiced a lot? Because it's an interesting lineup.
Our lineup just now for both games, we have been practicing it for a very long time. So yeah, we used it in our games today.
Awesome. Yeah, it was. You guys executed it very well, obviously. Mirko, go ahead.
Yeah, I think my question is like a little bit more personal to the team, right? I mean, you guys got a new analyst in the team. I know your coach is Susugaja, but you guys got a new analyst. You know, you got Dewa. How good of an analyst is he? You know, just yeah.
We got our new analyst from a lot of recommendations. So I know it's not. He's been here for a while now, not for a long time. So he is also still adjusting with us. And now I think, yeah, we have bonded. He has bonded with us pretty deeply, and yeah, he's a great analyst.
Okay, I'll add one more question on top of that, right? Because right now it does seem like, again, Indonesia are the favorites coming into IESF 2024 for MLBB Women's. Which country, which nation are you most excited to go up against later on?
We are of course very excited to face every region in IESF, since before we have not faced a lot of regions. This is the first time we have faced Brunei, so it will be very exciting to face every region.
Oh, might have lost her for a second there. We'll see if she gets back to us, but I think she was saying, yeah, they were pretty much excited to go against all the regions. You know, it's the first time that they get to go against Brunei, and there's a lot of, like I was saying this earlier, man, like there's a lot of new countries and everything, representations joining the IESF, and I think that's the exciting thing. It's good too that, I don't know if she was leading into it, but she's going to say like they're excited to face off against the Philippines, you know, eventually. But I think either way you look at it, like it's just, I think everyone shares that idea of it's nice to see these new competitors come into the scene and compete. You know, I think that's the beauty of it.
For sure. I think the fact that, you know, IESF has given a platform to everyone, has given a platform to so many different countries that are even like very, very new to the game. The fact that we have that is already really, really cool. And it might look like, you know, maybe they're kind of like, oh, not on the same level as the other teams, but yeah, the fact that they get a platform to perform, the fact that they now have like something to work for, right? That makes it so that that region will be able to develop later in the future. They get some more friends going on, and then they'll become a whole community like in the African region. Because again, in IESF 2022, it was very, very new in Africa. Namibia was the, you know, we had Namibia as the representative of Africa, and they weren't able to perform at all in the main stage. But what has that created? We take a look 2 years later, and now the African region, we just casted for the African regional qualifier, and everyone seems to have stepped up. Like, they have all stepped up, not just a notch, they've stepped up a whole different level. We saw a Yin Rome and a Helker Min. Yes, I'm always gonna bring that up. I will never stop bringing that up, all right? Every single time, I'll always bring that up, bro.
It's never, that's never dying down.
Never. And then we had, you know, we had so many interesting facts. Kilowane with his Hanzo, obviously, yeah. And Egypt getting through it with Tunisia. Both those teams looking super, super strong. They don't just look like, you know, they don't look like an average team. They look strong. They have very, very good macro and micro. I'm very excited to see them on the world stage, man.
You know, I'm wondering too, like the way that the current patch has like set in, I feel like this benefits a lot of the growing and newer regions, like more than anything, because I feel like this is naturally just like the teams that first pick up MLBB for the first time, I feel like this is more their play style is like they just want a team fight. They want to clash it out. They want to pick, you know, they want to go in with these heroes that just essentially like lets them play some of their favorite heroes and not have to conform so much to this certain typical, like this very set play style, which is what the utility jungler type playstyle was for the longest time, and it still works. I would say it still is a viable option, but I think now once again you have this option where you can opt for stuff like this, like we just saw from Indonesia. Very interesting lineup to bring to the table, and you heard it from Vival herself. Like they tested this out multiple times, and they brought it out today. So just awesome lineup to see, you know, and I'm 100% we're going to see more, especially with, of course, you know, tomorrow. But today was as we look at today, you know, and everything that we experienced today to open up the Asian qualifiers to WEC here for IESF. You know, once again, we started it up. Kazakhstan versus Uzbekistan, and that was a best of 5. Again, those first 2 matches we had, if you guys missed them, we had first 2 matches were best of 5s because they're the only 2 teams in their kind of subcategory region. So the first team from that to win it would automatically qualify for the WEC. So if you guys are curious, by the way, and you want to follow along, you can actually go to iesf.gg. I believe Nightbot on the stream for YouTube is constantly putting that out there, so you guys can check out the bracket there. And you can also check it out on Liquipedia as well. You can check out either of those. But isf.gg is the main website, and definitely check it out. It's updated the fastest. So with that, again, Kazakhstan versus Uzbekistan, again, it was a great series. Finally, we had one where so far we have, like us personally casting, we haven't had a sweep, game right? Go past the sweep. Yeah, so that one was the first one that we finally got to a game for, and unfortunately, you know, they had some issues with it, so they ended up remaking it and doing it offline. Same result though. Kazakhstan ended up winning. Second match, we had Hong Kong, China versus Mongolia, of course. Mongolia came out swinging. It was almost kind of what we expected from Mongolia as a region. Their women's team does it just as good, and they came out with a 3-0. And then, of course, here, I guess the same can be said about Indonesians, Mirko. You know, the Indonesian team, very strong, tournament favorite. They go against Brunei. It was great to see them, of course, play it out in this best of 3. But for Indonesia, they did have a very dominant game 1 and game 2. And, you know, so that's what we had to start us off here for day 1. Mirko, any final thoughts about day number 1 here as we opened up?
I mean, my thoughts on day number 1 is so far it's been surprising, but it's been, I think, the same level of, like, we've been surprised, but we've also been expecting some of these games, you know. So yeah, it's a good mix of surprising and also expected matches. But for tomorrow, I think we're gonna have a whole load of different, you know, matches, a whole different kind of matches as well. There's gonna be a lot of matches that we don't really expect to go to a sweep, but will go to a sweep. A lot of matches that we expect to be a sweep, and will hopefully give us a full series. We still haven't seen a full series. Not here, not yet. But tomorrow I have hope. I've said this every day, but tomorrow I really have hope.
Tomorrow you have hope for a full series?
At least one of those games, right? We got 5 matches tomorrow. If none of them go full, it's so sad.
Yeah, I was going to say, tomorrow we have 5 matches. We start a little bit earlier tomorrow, too. So you guys that are watching on the stream, tune in a little bit earlier. We actually start tomorrow also with the MLBB men's. We will also have one MLBB women's match, I believe, at the end. I think it is, but I know we open up the day with MLBB men's, and I think we start off, Cambodia versus Myanmar is actually going to be the first match. So we have, again, if you guys are watching and you're wondering why some are best of 5s, some are best of 3s, they're basically depending on how many regions or sub-regions are in that category. So again, I highly suggest you guys check out iesf.gg to better understand it. But tomorrow we have a mix, actually. Most of them are best of 3s because it covers the round robin area for especially Southeast Asia. And then we have a best of 5. We have one best of 5 tomorrow. That is the new region that I was talking about for men's, especially because I'm not sure if you've tuned in to OCC Australia, but that's where New Zealand came through. So we have Guam and New Zealand. Like, this is like a new region for a lot of people that will see this for the first time. And then, of course, we have we end it tomorrow with, it looks like the Indonesians playing again for MLBB Women's, you know, versus Laos. So 5 matches tomorrow. And I'm not sure if we're going to be joined by another caster Mirko tomorrow, but you know, if not, we'll find out. So if we do all 5 games, hey, we're ready. Hey, maybe they're all going all the distance. Maybe you just cursed us, by the way.
I really hope I did, because I've been trying to curse these games to go all the way, right? It hasn't worked out. So maybe it's been a bless, technically, right?
Mere bless.
Mere bless.
Mere bless. Mere curse. You know, we'll find out. But that's going to wrap it up for us, guys, here tonight. Thank you for all joining us on day 1 of the Asian qualifiers here, the road to WEC. We have more action for you guys tomorrow. Of course, like I said, it starts earlier tomorrow. So keep an eye out for the schedule on the socials. Again, I'm Naisu, joined here with Mirko. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow for day number 2. Until then, get some rest. Bye-bye.